The first story I'm going to tell is a little story about Al Jarreau. I got a call from my attorney, said that somebody wanted me to go see this act. I went to see the act. It was Al Jarreau at a little club called the Blah Blah Club. And his manager, Pat Rain, said, I've had a bunch of people down here and nobody seems to know what to do with them. And I said, I wouldn't do it. I'd just do what he's doing. He's amazing, So anyway, make this story short, we finally got him signed to Warner Brothers. Mo Austin had come down and seen him at the Troubadour and signed him. And I'm going to produce and engineer his first album. It was called We Got By. So we're in the studio and everything's going great and the band is just burning. We're at take 2 and it's just great. And we go to take 3 and it's killer. So at that point I said to everybody, look, come on in guys, you got to hear this. This is amazing. So they come in and we play it back and everybody's just digging what's going on. And the door to the control room opens up and Al Jarreau's girlfriend came in. Her name was Susan. And they're talking over there and finally I stop it. We finish the playback, and Al comes over to me and says, "Gee, Al, Susan doesn't think this is a really good take." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, that's just something that she doesn't like about it." I said, "Well, hold on." So I rewind the tape. I call my home. I play the tape, and I hold the phone up. And so I played the whole take. When it's done, I said to my wife, "What do you think?" She said, "Oh, it's fabulous." So I said, "Now, my wife thinks it's great." So I figured I had a nip it in the bud right then. If I didn't get it done,
Gotta talk to the boss, man.
I was
Yeah.
going to have to deal with Susan through that whole album. And he wound up marrying her anyway, so later on. But anyway, that's that story.
All right, excellent. Thank you. That's great.
I have a little, by the way, I've only did on the Egypt station, just a couple little things. I did strings and woodwinds and things.
So I'm just kind of wondering, so, what, $50, $100 to McCartney for writing the forward for this? What do you pay him for something?
No, he paid me.
I mean, he's got to make rent too, right?
He paid me, yeah.
Huh?
He paid me.
He paid you?
Yeah.
Really?
He said I have
That's
to
a great
do it
deal.
now.
Shoot, I'd frame that money. That's right.
Anyway, so I'm working with Paul. We're doing an album called Kisses on the Bottom.
Yep.
And these are all old standards and
yeah.
all that he had really wanted to do for years. And but he wasn't sure if he could do it. And we get in and we started recording at Capitol. And finally, after a little while, we finally found a niche and it really started to work. So then we went to New York and worked, and we wound up, we were in Abbey Road in Studio 2 where the Beatles did all their hits.
Oh, wow.
And he told us a lot of stories, how when they first started, they wouldn't let them in the front door. They had to come out the back way because they all looked like hippies. So anyway, we're working there, and I'm standing outside the control room, and I'm on the phone with my daughter, wishing her happy birthday. And Paul comes out and stands right in front of me. He looks at me, and I said, "It's my daughter's birthday." So he took the phone from my hand, sang happy birthday to her on the phone, and handed me the phone back. And my daughter said, "Oh my God, I didn't record that. And no one will ever believe me."
Oh my God. That's great. That's
He's a
great.
sweetheart, yeah. Then the other story is when I was a kid, and I was 19, started at Apex Recording Studios, and my mentor was Tommy Dowd, and I was hanging out with him for quite,
Yep.
great guy.
Yep.
And I was hanging out with him, and we became really good friends, and he bought me a notebook, and I just drew diagrams of his setups and what mics he used. And we only had an 8-input board back then, so we could only put up 8 mics. So they had enough faith in me on Saturday after 3 months, I could come in on Saturday and do these little demo records. Somebody would come in and play Happy Birthday to their daughter, and I'd cut the disc and give it to him. It was $15, and he'd be out. So that was the guy at 10 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, I had a guy come in, and he played piano and sang a song that he wrote, and we recorded that, or I recorded that, and gave him the disc. He gave me $15. So
That's
at
got a
2,
good little side hustle going.
what's that?
It's a good little side hustle going.
Yeah, no, I didn't get the
Yeah.
money, my
That
boss
starts
got
adding
it.
up. Yeah.
But the people in the studio, so now I'm waiting for Mr. Mercer to show up. They have Mr. Mercer in the book. And I always waited for people when they opened the elevators to come out so I could say hi or whatever. And the elevator doors open and all these musicians start coming out. And where's the studio? And I said, well, the studio's over there, but this is a big mistake. I'm waiting for Mr. Mercer. It's supposed to be a little demo. No, Mercer Ellington. It's for Mercer Records, Duke Ellington's son, Duke Ellington's band. And I started to stutter,
Oh,
and
my
I didn't
God.
know what the hell to do.
Oh, my God.
So I tried to call Tommy, and I couldn't reach him. I tried to call my boss, and I couldn't reach him. So I had the book. I found a big band setup that Tommy had done, and I went out and I was setting up the chairs and got the mics, the 8 mics, and I sat down, and I didn't know what was going to happen. It was another 10 minutes. I had never done anything like that. And who walks in but Duke Ellington?
Oh, my God.
So I was a bebopper, and I was, into big bands. So I knew all the guys. When they started walking in, it was like Joe DiMaggio and Babe Ruth came
Yep.
in,
Yep.
These were my heroes. And Duke Ellington, and I said to him, Mr. Ellington, this is a big mistake. I'm not qualified to do this. And he said, why not? Why? I said, I've never done anything like this. So he looked out in the studio. He said, well, the musicians look comfortable out there and everything. I said, yeah, but I've never done. He said, we'll get through this. So I sat down and I started opening faders. The band was, rehearsing, and I finally got what I thought was a balance and everything. And I kept saying to him, Mr. Ellington, this is really a big mistake. And he kept patting me on the leg. And he kept saying to me, don't worry, son, we're going to get through this. I think he thought I was going to faint or something. I was probably Snow White. Anyway, we did 4 songs, and I did get through it. And he thanked me at the end, and that was it. So that was like, it was like the first time having sex or something. Recording the big band.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
That's it.
You want to do one more? You got one more? You want to? It's up to you.
Well,
All right.
I have one more story.
All right. We'll do one more.
that I don't
Why
ever
not? Do you
tell.
want to hear one more?
And,
All right.
well, this is Jeff Greenberg. Said I
Never
have
heard
to
of
tell
him.
this story. So I'm a recording engineer at RCA, and they signed this 18-year-old beautiful young lady to a contract, and I'm her engineer on the tape.
What year is this?
This is in 1960, maybe,
Okay.
61. So anyway, we talked and everything else, and at one point she came over and she said, everybody's always asking me out, and you never asked me out. And I said, well, would you go out with me if I asked? And she said, absolutely. So I said, okay, let's go out. And we started dating, and we dated once a month, once every 2 weeks, and I would go over to her house and have dinner with her and her mom and dad and things. And we became really good friends and close. And I wound up at that point being promoted to a producer. So now I was producing her records. And she would call me all the time. She was doing State Fair, and she would call me on the phone in the morning and tell me all the different stories, things that were going on. And so one day I leave the office 8 o'clock at night. I go down and get in my car. By the way, the young lady was Anne Margaret.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, so yeah.
That's right up there.
So I pull out of the driveway, the garage, under the building, and I pull out on Sunset Boulevard, and I pull up to a red light, and I'm stopped, and I hear all this laughing and giggling, and I look over at this car, and it's a Rolls Royce, and there's Anne Margaret and Elvis Presley. and I said, well, that's the end of my time with Anne Margaret.
You think?
That's it.
All right.
True story.
Thank you. Al Schmitt, give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Al. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.